What's up, everybody? So we're out in the shop, and in this episode I wanted to actually talk a little bit about the Karambowie, the knife that I made for the YouTubers Bowie challenge, and give y'all some answers to some questions that y'all actually had in the comment section for the knife video that I made. So the one that released on Friday that showed the actual build process of the knife. I've had a few people ask some questions in the comment section, and a few people make just different comments, and I wanted to address them a little bit and actually talk to y'all about why I went this direction instead of like your standard Bowie direction. Now, when it comes down to it, I decided to go this direction so that y'all got something a little bit different. I knew a lot of people were going to make even though all the Bowies were so different, they're all roughly in the same scheme of things with the way that they did them, you know, your guards, the way that they shaped the blades, all of that stuff. And I wanted to do something that was different. Now, the nice thing is, I was expecting some people to go, "That's not a Bowie, what are you thinking?" But everybody was really polite. They did the whole, "Hey man, that knife is absolutely beautiful, love the knife, it's not a Bowie." I get that. It's absolutely not a traditional Bowie. But the funny thing is, if I was to take just the handle part off of here and I made this exact blade but with a standard handle, I wouldn't have got any of those comments. None of them. It would have been "That's a really cool looking Bowie." But because I did the ring, it makes it go from cool Bowie to not exactly a Bowie, but cool knife. And I get that, but Bowies were fighting knives. You know, that was the whole point behind them. And what I wanted to do was take the full just feel of a fighting knife and throw it into a Bowie. So with a typical karambit, you know, you have that hardcore claw hook to it, and that's where you get the karambit. But I feel like that is a very valid fighting knife, taking that Bowie shape blade and throwing it onto a ringed karambit style handle just makes for a really cool fighting knife. So that's what I wanted to do. Now, to give y'all an idea of something here, I actually am going to be making a knife that is almost the same exact profile, but a little bit larger, and it's going to have an actual handle, a guard, all of that, but the blade itself is just a bigger version of this blade. Just a slightly upsize, but same profile, just scaled up. So everything from here forward, same profile, just a little bit larger, with a guard and a handle. I'm not changing the profile of the blade. It's going to be the same thing, like I said, just larger. And that is going to be how I'm going to turn that Karambowie into a Bowie. Now, I'm going to do a lot of similar finishes that I did on the Karambowie on that particular Bowie knife. And we're going to see what y'all think about me doing all of the stuff that I did in this, because I'm going to do a handle with turquoise in it. It's going to be really cool, and we're going to end up doing that so that y'all can see if I created one that was like the other guys where they did that real big style Bowie knife. I'm going to give y'all one of those so that y'all can actually see what that looks like with similar textures to the one that I did on the Karambowie, because I feel like if y'all saw it on that scale, that a lot of y'all are really going to like it. And now that I see all these really cool, big, large Bowie knives that these guys made, I want to make one of those. You know, I didn't realize that I wanted to make one as much as I did until I saw their videos and I went, "Ah, dang, now I got to do that." And I know that a few of them are going to make this version of knife. I know they're going to, you know, do their version of this particular knife because they told me they were going to. But it was just something that I wanted to do a different thing so that y'all saw a different style of knife. Now, was I expecting the wide variety of knives that these guys created? No. I was expecting a lot of standard style buoys with a cool flair to them, but jeez, the guys in this challenge just absolutely stunned me. Some of their builds are just crazy, just absolutely crazy, and they did such an awesome job that, like I said, it made me want to do that as well. So I want to. Now, to answer a few questions that people had about this knife, I had a few people ask me about the handle and the material and all that. So I did mention it in the video, but it's whinge wood with black micarta pins that you can't really see. They blend in real well. Also that this piece stands out. That's turquoise right there. That's cast in resin on there. Now, the cool thing about this video is at the end of it, I'm going to have 3 videos on the little outro piece, and those are going to be the handle, me making that, the texture on the spine, doing all of that, showing y'all how I did it, and doing the bevels on this knife. So showing y'all that process. So you're going to have 3 different videos to see the bevels, the texturing, and the way I did the handle scales, so that y'all could actually see that if y'all wanted to watch it and get more depth. Now, the big thing was, I've had a lot of people ask me about, well, how I got the texture on the bevels there. The funny thing is, y'all actually see how I do it, but because it's one of those videos that I didn't sit there and break up down all the different processes, you don't really get to actually understand the process. But what I did was I ground both of these bevels to final ground, like to where they were finished, the height of them, all that stuff. And then I took a brand new 36 grit belt and ground all the way down both of these on all the sides so that I got real deep grinding lines. And then I etched it a few times and sanded the tops just like you would do Damascus when you're bringing out the pattern in Damascus. What it does is you sand all the high points, all the peaks off of here, and then all of the etching stays in the valleys. Whenever you're doing Damascus and you have that 15 and 20 and 1080 and you etch that, 15 and 20 and 1080 etch at different speeds. So the 1080 is going to etch faster and get darker. And whenever you go and you sand over the top of it with a 1500 or a 2000 grit, it's going to clean off the top, the peaks where the 15 and 20 is, and leave the etching in the 1080 and the low points, the valleys. Same process, but I'm creating the pattern with the belt. Now, the hard part about this, you might think, well, all I got to do to replicate that is grind with a rough belt. Nope. You got to make sure that whenever you're doing this process that you're going into the belt and you're keeping the exact same angle the entire time through, because if you happen to, here's the belt, turn it a little bit while you're pulling through, all your lines are going to go in a different direction, and whenever you come back across it again, there's a chance that you're going to cross over your lines, and all of the mistakes will show up. As soon as you etch it and sand it, you're going to see any area where you didn't get those grind lines perfect, because that's what's going to be shiny. So it is something that you got to just take your time, go slow, be super even with it, and make sure that you get nice clean lines whenever you're doing it, and make sure that you don't mess up your other crisps sections. So like all of this stuff right here where these nice crisp lines run into each other, so this bevel goes into this bevel. Typically whenever you're hand sanding, if you have any slight little issues, you can hand sand it and crisp everything up and make sure that everything's nice and smooth. The downside to this particular process is you grind, and there's no hand sanding or Scotch-Brite resurfacing belt or anything that can fix any of those issues. You've got to get super crisp lines while only using a 36 grit belt. There's no higher belts, there's no anything that would typically make those lines crisp. You've got to figure out how you're going to get all of that stuff with a 36 grit belt, and that's it. It really tests your freehand grinding skills, because a 36 grit belt, if you happen to accidentally give it a little foop or a foop, that belt is going to absolutely screw up one of your crisp lines. So it is in and just don't mess up. That's all I gotta say. It takes a lot of patience to be able to do it, because like I said, whenever you're using a higher grit belt, if you happen to hit it a little bit, it's not gonna do much to it. But if you do that with a 36 grit belt, it's gonna grind a whole entire section off. So if you're gonna try and replicate this, just make sure that you're taking your time and keeping the same angles, and practice it on other steel first, maybe mild steel or something like that, so you can get comfortable with it. Because like I said, typically whenever you're using the other belts, those things correct the little bobbles and stuff that you put into your blades with the 36 grit belt. But when you go with a finish like this, there's none of that. There's no belts that are going to redeem any of the errors. You just got to make them perfect with the roughest grip belt that you possibly have. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but you get real cool results whenever it's all said and done, which look like that. Now, if y'all want to, I can do a video just dedicated to this part, doing bevels like this, or if you want, this is one of the things that I can do. Whenever I make this knife, I was debating on doing it as the Shop Talk Tuesday knife or as a Friday build knife. The Friday build ones I don't go into as much detail, but on the Shop Talk Tuesdays I do. If y'all want, I can do that knife as a Shop Talk Tuesday build so that y'all can see the textures and how I accomplish that, and actually see me grind them and see me do the different things and explain it. If you want to see that, let me know in the comment section if you want me to do the big Bowie knife as a Shop Talk Tuesday build series, or if you just want me to kind of go through it and do it in a few episodes of a Friday build. Either way, y'all let me know and I'll go from there with that one. But when it comes to the different textures and all that, it's just all about taking your time. It's such a small packaged knife that just took a lot of work to get everything how I wanted it, and everything even, and everything that some people might look at it and go, wow, he just slapped something together, and you know, there's no finish work on that particular knife because you didn't see me do any hand sanding and all of that stuff. But I've done all those processes, and I've done this process. This process is more stressful and takes more work than the other ones. So there you go. Now, if y'all have any questions about knives like this, let me know in the comment section and I'll explain them and the best of my knowledge, or I'll talk about them on a Shop Talk Tuesday or something like that. Oh, one small little thing. If you're going to make a ring knife like this, a Karambowie style, I see a lot of people make knives like this that I don't feel like think through this whole section here. The whole point behind the way I do my handles on these particular knives is so that when you're going to be holding it, so pinky through here, my hand, just how it sits, just goes straight in there and you hold it. So everything is super comfortable. This way, hand straight through there. I don't have fingers up here, fingers up here. It's just perfectly comfortable and you hold it. I see a lot of people where these rings are kicked real far down, or they'll take the ring and they'll put it dead center with the handle right here to where your your finger's all the way down here or your finger's all the way up here. If you're going to make a karambit style or a ring style knife, think about how the ergonomics fit. Same thing with the thickness of this right here, so that when someone holds it and grabs it, it just feels natural. A lot of karambits don't feel natural whenever you're holding them. So think through all that stuff, make templates, that way you really put the work into the knife and don't just make something that kind of looks cool but doesn't fit the ergonomics of someone's hand. I'm hardcore about ergonomics. If y'all have watched all my videos, y'all know that I am. If your knife creates a hot spot in someone's hand, they will not use it. They will put it on a shelf, it'll be a cool looking knife, but no one will use it. So just think through things like that. Okay, with that, I'm going to wrap this one up with we're almost at 25,000 subscribers, and at 25,000 subscribers, I'm giving away this knife right here. I'll talk more about that when we hit that mark. Guys, y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there. Subscribe to the channel. I'll catch y'all next time.